Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about something that, let's be honest, feels pretty broken to a lot of people: Pakistan's tax system. We're going to unpack why it always seems like the average person is footing the bill, while the powerful, well, they seem to get a pass.
You know the feeling, right? You go to the market, you fill up your bike or your car, you look at your utility bills, and it just feels like your money is vanishing. This isn't just in your head, it's a hard reality, and it's tied directly to how the country pays its bills.
So, what about this number? 41%. Just let that sink in for a second. This single figure is right at the heart of the pressure millions of people are feeling every single day.
That's right. At one point, a whopping 41% of the price of a single liter of petrol was just tax. Whenever the government needs cash and needs it fast, this is its go-to weapon. It's quick, it's effective, and as we're about to see, it hits absolutely everyone.
So, let's really get into this everyday squeeze. How does a policy decision made somewhere in an office in Islamabad turn into actual real-world difficulty for you and me? Well, it all starts with the economy's foundations.
You see, the country's economy is, well, it's pretty fragile. There's a heavy reliance on importing absolute essentials. We're talking fuel and even food. There's almost no financial safety net to speak of. This means that any shock to the global system, a conflict somewhere far away or a sudden spike in oil prices, isn't just a news headline. Here, it's an immediate crisis at home.
Which, of course, brings us to the most important question. When the government needs to raise money to handle these crises, who does it actually turn to? Let's follow the money and see who's really paying up.
And wow, this slide just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got the salaried class, people earning a monthly paycheck. You have a few big corporations and the general public getting hit with all sorts of indirect taxes. And on the other side, yeah, you see it. Powerful groups like huge landlords, major traders, entire influential sectors that are either completely untaxed or paying next to nothing. It's like a tale of two different countries.
So, let's zoom in on that one specific tool we mentioned, the government's absolute favorite, its weapon of choice, if you will, the fuel tax. It's just the easiest lever for them to pull, but it also creates the most widespread pain.
This brings us to a really key economic idea, something called a regressive tax. Now, you've probably heard of a progressive tax, where the rich pay a higher percentage. A regressive tax is the total opposite. It hits the poor the hardest. And a tax on fuel is a classic example, because that tax takes up a much, much bigger slice of a poor person's income than a rich person's.
And here's the brutal reality of how that plays out. When the price of petrol goes up, it's not just about what it costs to get around. The price of food, electricity, and almost every other basic good goes right up with it. What that means is the poor end up paying a way higher effective tax rate on the things they need just to survive, and it's all indirect.
Okay, so let's put some hard numbers to this, because when you actually see the data, the inequality is it's staggering.
Just look at this. Out of around 125,000 registered companies in Pakistan, the vast majority of all corporate tax is paid by a tiny fraction, around 5,000 of them. And even inside that small group, the real heavy lifting is done by only about 300 companies. The other 120,000, they contribute almost nothing.
And here's another jaw-dropping figure for you. 300 billion rupees. That's the estimated tax revenue the government loses every single year from just one industry, cigarettes. And that's because just two companies pay 95% of the taxes, while dozens and dozens of others just operate in a gray area.
So, when you start to piece all of this together, you realize something really important. This isn't a tax system designed for fairness or broad collection. It's a system of selective extraction. It targets the few who are easy to tax and lets almost everyone else, especially the powerful, off the hook.
Which forces you to ask a really uncomfortable question. Is all of this deep inequality just the result of incompetence, of a system that's failing? Or is there something more deliberate going on here? Is it a bug or is it a feature?
To even begin to answer that, we have to step away from the spreadsheets and the economic models. We have to look at the real power play, the politics behind all of this economic pain.
And here is the cold, hard truth of it. The state avoids taxing the powerful elites, the big landlords, the major traders, because it's politically costly. It's difficult. So it chooses the path of least resistance. It taxes fuel, electricity, and everyday goods, because the common people, well, they're disorganized and they can't effectively fight back.
So, the most crucial takeaway here is that fixing Pakistan's economy isn't about finding some brilliant new economic model.
Fundamentally, this is an issue of governance. It's an issue of power. The system works this way because it has been captured by elite interests.
So finally, let's talk about the solutions. Because the crazy thing is, the fixes are surprisingly straightforward and pretty well known. So why are we all still stuck in this unfair reality?
I mean, if you had a serious reformer in charge, the playbook is clear. You digitize transactions to create a paper trail. You finally tax the massive, undertaxed sectors like real estate and agriculture. You crack down hard on smuggling. In short, you expand the base so that everyone pays their fair share.
But, and it's a huge but, there's the catch. Every single one of these common-sense solutions directly threatens the financial interests of the country's most powerful groups. And because they're the ones holding the political power, these reforms, they just never seem to happen.
And this brings us to the final, critical insight of this whole explainer. The problem isn't that Pakistan can't collect taxes. The problem is that it lacks the power, and more importantly, the will, to enforce the law on the rich and the influential.
And that leaves us with one last, really provocative thought. Maybe we're all wrong to call this system broken. What if it's actually working perfectly, doing exactly what it was designed to do, protecting the interests of the powerful at the expense of everyone else?